Hello, friends. It's your pal, Comic Head. It's your pal, Comic Head 84, coming at you with a Captain Marvel movie review chat video. Um, I'm late to the party, uh, on this movie. I think it's been out for, few weeks now, but I just saw it last night. So I figured I'd chat about it, review it, let you know what I thought, how it went down, and give you the real deal scoop. Hey, Chad, what's up, brother? Perry Comics, Fred Hall Direct Edition. Who's got the hottest thumbnails in the game? Fred Hall Direct. Uh, and Mr. Comics 89. What's up, guys? Um, yeah, man, I think I'm just gonna do a little impromptu Captain Marvel movie review. I was gonna make like a proper video on it. I took some notes and stuff, but part of me just felt a little I guess lazy to like put it together and edit it. I'm like, I'm gonna do a live Captain Marvel movie review chat discussion, right? But I did pick up some comics earlier this morning, so stay tuned. I think Chad and I may join forces for that sometime soon today. And if you want to jump into this one, Chad, let me know because I think you saw Captain Marvel. Delphia, DK Comics and Cosplay. Hey, buddy, how are you? Mr. Comics got his holy grail to match those. Salute to you. All right, so let me get on track a little bit. I watched Captain Marvel, right, last night. It wasn't a movie that I like felt I needed to rush out and see. Like Endgame, I pre-ordered my tickets for it. I want to see that mug ASAP, right? Chad says, let's do it. Okay, I'll shoot you an invite. Um, for Captain Marvel, it was it was like a controversial flick. There was a lot of heat around this Captain Marvel movie. So I'm glad that I watched it after it died down a little bit, you know. And I got a chance to see, how everyone else thought about it and things like that. Overall it got, I guess it was 50-50. I saw people that said, "Hey, I thought it was good." And there was also a pretty good amount of negative review on it. So I'm like, let me see. I feel like I'm a pretty objective moviegoer. I didn't really come into it with this particular agenda. So let's see what we got. So, and let me know if in the chat if any of you guys have seen it as I discuss this. So, the movie opens up strong. It cuts right to the chase of Captain Marvel on her Kree home planet with her squad on a mission. Right? They're going on a mission to go after some Skrulls. Skrulls are the enemy. They're terrorists, basically, is how they're being described. And it's just a cool action mission. They're all suiting up. They're like, let's do this. There's a crew of like 5 characters. Carol Danvers. At this point, just Veers, right? Is like her whatever alien name. Jude Law. It's like the captain of the squad. A black dude who I don't know his name as an actor, but he was in Guardians of the Galaxy. So he's been in a film before. He was part of the squad. A bearded guy and like a green skinned female who was pretty cool. She was like the sharpshooter, marksman type character. They go on like a mission, and that part was great. Cool action. Skrull shape shifting is going down. They all like dispatching. They're swimming underwater, and their helmets are like aqua capable and stuff. So that was all great. What up, Stacy's weekly comic book picks? Good to see you. So it started out strong. There was a beginning montage throughout that of Carol Danvers in a little training session with Jude Law. And he's like, you need to control your emotion. You're never going to be able to master your powers until you control them emotions, boo. And she's like, oh, whatever. Which I think was ironic. And I'll touch on that later, that was like a something that they kept on talking about. Um, so that happens. Then shortly after, boom, she's on planet Earth, right? She's in our world. She crashes through a blockbuster video. That part was cool. That part was funny. It's the 90s. Lots of 90s references. That was all good stuff. There wasn't much humor in it. I think there was like some attempted humor throughout the movie, but there was really only one or two moments that like did it for me, um, comedy wise. And it's in that moment when she crashes out of the blockbuster, she rolls up on a security guard, and she's like, "Are you part of the security in this district?" Like talking to him all formally, and he's just like a mall cop basically. So she's like talking to him as if he holds some important position, and he's kind of playing along with it. It's pretty humorous, and she says, "Where can I get communication equipment to contact my home planet?" And he's like, "Right there." And it's a Radio Shack, right? Pretty funny. So that's all funny. There's that, which actually becomes relevant throughout the movie. There's like three or four different times where she calls home, calls the spaceship that Jude Law's character's on. And every time she does it by like hot wiring a payphone or like a regular landline. And I thought that was weird. I'm like, damn, you can just hot. I don't know what she was doing with those wires, but somehow she turns an American payphone into an intergalactic communicator. Whatevs. Um, so then, as when she's in Earth and she starts interacting, you get to see what her character's like, which is kind of smug, dismissive of everybody, kind of. Uh, that that's one of my gripes with the movie is Brie Larson's portrayal as Captain Marvel. Pretty boring performance, which was disappointing. I know there's like a lot of memes in the lead up to the movie of her always just having a straight face during everything and that she didn't have emotional range. And the funniest of the memes was like there's a scene where they're shooting electricity into her brain to get old memories, and she's just sitting there with that same straight face. So I think that was actually a valid meme worthy thing because that is her character throughout the movie. She's always just kind of straight faced, and if she was just a down to business type of person, like a serious person, that'd be one thing. But she's not. Like one main aspect of her personality was she's like snarky. She's like a little smart aleck. You know what I'm saying? She's always, hey, Kachung, Tony Trambetta. Um, she's always like uh, sassing people, with these little smirky one-liners, which, with her not having much emotion, go along with the Kree warriors. I see what you're saying. Go along with the Kree warriors. I not exactly because I don't know if it's intentional, man. Because she's still doing that smart aleck stuff even back in the home planet, you know? Um yeah, I don't know if that's why it's supposed to be that way or not, but cuz her character's supposed to be, especially once she starts to get her memories back because that's a common thread throughout the film. Um trying to remember things from her past cuz she got brainwashed essentially. Not brainwashed, but her memories were wiped out once she got taken by the Kree because she's a human who gets involved in this accident and she gets Kree blood in her, power from the Tesseract, not the Tesseract, but something like that, and she has cosmic powers. But which means she lived her full adult life in that time period, and she was supposed to be like an Air Force pilot, um, you know, and like a stunt, not a stunt driver, but just an adventurous kid in a stunt pilot. And even when they flash back to those moments prior to the Kree, I feel like she still is giving that kind of performance of just like really straight faced. I feel like the only two emotions you get from her are like stone cold, kind of mean mugging, and like sassy one liners. It was something, it irked me a little bit. When, for example, when she first lands in on Earth, she links up with Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, who reports to the scene. He's like investigating it. And she's just like, whatever, idiot, like talking to him like he's a straight up idiot. And I mean, I don't know. I didn't like how they did that. She's very dismissive of him the whole time. Biggie Shaq, what's up, brother? Thanks for joining. Just talking about Captain Marvel movie. I saw it last night. So anyway, I won't harp on it, but that was something that I noticed. I feel like if that was, whether it's the way she was written, I mean, she's only working with her lines. I get it. But she didn't have much personality. I would have preferred, instead of like snarky kind of talking down to everybody like Tony Stark does, because Tony Stark has that same personality of like, he's always the smartest guy in the room. No one else, he feels like, really knows what they're talking about. And he's quick to zing people, right? He's a charismatic guy who likes to drop zingers. And that's cool. So that as a character is fine. I don't inherently have a problem with that. I just don't think it was a good choice for Captain Marvel. I would, and even Doctor Strange is kind of the same way too, but there's more layers to it. Captain Marvel, that Carol Danvers character, I would have preferred if they just leaned more into her being no problem, Chad. Let's link up later, buddy. No problem. I would have preferred if they played her as more of like an adrenaline junkie, maybe, and have her really have a thrill to always just want to get into the action, because there's not like a ton of motivation for a character. Because she's the type of person that wanted to be a female fighter pilot, and that's a field that wasn't really dominated by women. That means she's a really outgoing person, maybe an adrenaline junkie, because they flash back to parts of her childhood where she was like driving around go-karts, riding bikes. Like, I thought that would have been a better play on her character. Have her be like really about that action. Because I should say, I really don't know anything about the Carol Danvers character in the comics. Captain Marvel, I haven't read much about her at all. So I don't, I'm taking it at what they give me in the movie. I don't know. In other words, I don't know what she was supposed to be, So the soundtrack is good. There's lots of 90s songs throughout it. There's a really good scene when they use Come As You Are, Nirvana, in a scene, which I liked. So as far as the narrative goes, I'm sorry, I'm all over. It's tough talking by yourself with this stuff without going on tangents. Sorry. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to hit me up in the chat. Once she crashes on Earth, she links up with Nick Fury, and they're off because she's looking for, a woman, the woman from the old Air Force team. She knows she has some kind of connection to her, but she's not sure what it is. So they go off on that mission, and they get captured. No, do they get captured? They kind of get put in like detainment and stuff. And there's a little cat and mouse action scene between a Skrull guy who's in human form impersonating somebody going after Carol Danvers and Nick Fury. That was a cool scene. The guy who plays the Skrull, the main Skrull, did a good job. I enjoyed that character. I thought he was cool. So that was a decent part. She is. Yeah, let the rant go. Or maybe you liked it. Yeah. Overall, yeah, I enjoyed it, I don't want to make it seem like I was hammering too much in on that personality trait or that character. Just the way the character was a little weird. So She links up. We eventually meet up with uh, what's her name, Maria Rambeau, right? And she's the other chick who is in the Air Force with her, her pilot, her best friend, right? We link up with her, and they end up at her house, and they have history together. I heard a hot take about this, and I kind of tend to I like this point that was made, which was it's interesting that there's no love interest in the movie. That's usually a pretty standard thing that shit, man, just about any movie you can think of, definitely every superhero movie, Marvel movie, there's usually some kind of love interest or potential love interest. And there is none of that in Captain Marvel, right? There's barely there's really no yeah, no male characters that she interacts with really throughout the movie other than Nick Fury and Jude Law. Um, and both of those are definitely not like a romantic interest type thing. And I heard, the take that it's almost written like she is the love interest, you know? Um, it seems plausible that like an alternative relationship, a lesbian relationship was fostering between those two, right? And it's I think there was honestly potential for that, and Marvel maybe steered clear of it, you know? I thought it would have been fine. I thought it would have been cool to explore that with her, with the character. And I think maybe it was even trying to be alluded to. She has a very intimate relationship with this woman, and it's interesting that there's a complete lack of romantic interest in. There's no one that fills that role other than this Rambeau thing. So I don't know. Uh, Jojo at pop.comics uh, makes the point a lot better than I do. She explains her theory on that a lot more eloquently than I. But I tend to agree, man, that I tend to agree that I could see some loving going on between those two. And they should have just leaned into it and made it part of the movie. I think it would have been fine. Because it's an interesting part of the film that Maria Rambeau has this daughter who is Monica Rambeau, who's a character, right? In the Marvel Comics universe, right? And her and Captain Marvel have a good relationship with each other, but they never mention the father. Like, who's the dad of this kid? How does Maria Rambeau have this child? I was like, I think they never even mentioned anything. Like, yeah, he took off or something. It's very. I found that to be odd, but anyway, again, that's why I go back to possible relationship interest between those two characters. Anyway, um, we also have the cat Goose, who plays like I guess a bit of a comedic role. He does have some funny moments. The cat throughout the film. The cat is a flurkin, which is like uh, an alien being that can do all kind of wacky stuff. That is actually how um, it's going to be spoilers, right? That's how Nick Fury loses his eye, right? And he's towards the end of the film, he's holding up the cat to his face, kind of nuzzling it. Like, he's very affectionate with the cat all throughout the movie. And the cat scratches him in the eye. And that's the origin of the eye patch. Which I didn't love that, you know. It would have been cool. I don't know. I always assumed he lost it in battle or something, because I think he served a few tours in the military, in comic books anyway. So he gets scratched in the eye, and the weird thing about that is like he gets scratched and he totally brushes it off. Like, he gets scratched and he's like, "Oh shoot, uh, oh that smarts a little bit," and then he just moves on. And like, I mean, he lost his eye, and like if you guys watch that scene, you'll know what I'm talking about. I was thinking it'd be like this big thing of like the eye gets gouged out, and he's like, "Oh crap!" But it just like gets scratched, and he's like, "Ow!" Anyway, then he like drops. Then he continues talking to Carol Danvers. I was like, "Man, that was anticlimactic." So Fury loses the eye. Um, there are there are some fun scenes in when they start to get into it with some of the alien forces. There's like it's very reminiscent of Star Wars, where there's like a couple different spaceships pursuing each other because they get their hands on like this alien jet plane thing, and let him munch. The there's some cool jet battle scenes that were nice. Um, I enjoyed that. Yeah, Metarog says that Nick Fury saved the film for him. I agree. I agree. Nick Fury is uh, he's definitely a key part of the movie, and I think that's because Nick Fury has like an interesting personality, you know. And Carol Danvers, whether it's written or scripted that way or not, or it was kind of the actress portrayal, whatever, she's just not very interesting. Um, she's kind of spending the whole movie kind of confused, like she doesn't know who she is throughout the movie. She's trying, it's almost like that movie Memento, where it's like you're going back, piecing these memories together as it goes. So, she's not really sure who she is. Therefore, I think the audience isn't really sure who she is. And yeah, her performance didn't do much for me. So there's there's a moment that I thought was weird too, where like when she gets that suit, because she has this little wrist command, what do you call it? A little computer screen on her wrist. And she's always using it throughout the movie. She's always like looking up info and doing this and that and communicating with people. She uses it as a phone, which I'm not sure why she doesn't just use that. Why she's always hacking into payphones um, throughout the movie to call Jude Law, because she's she definitely makes a little phone call on her wrist thing. But anyway, one weird moment is when she changes the colors of her suit. So she's about to embark on a mission, and she goes to the young Monica Rambeau, and she's like, "Hey, you got an eye for design. Pick a new suit color." And it just opens up like a little Microsoft Paint thing, and she's just going through different suit colors, and it's changing it in real time. And there's a moment where it switches her into green and white suit, like the classic Captain Marvel, and she's sitting there for a while with the green and white, which I thought was cool. Um, and then they switched to the green. I'm sorry, the blue, red, and golden suit. I thought that was an odd feature that the suit had, like that it could just change the color palette like that. Because later on, when Jude Law sees her, he's like, "What the hell did you do to your suit?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it." And it's like, why would they even have that feature in there to change the color palette of the suit? Anyway, so Carlito says the Kree was messing with her mind, and that's why she was confused. Fair enough. I mean, whether there's a good explanation for it or not, or even whether the writers wanted, to do that for a certain reason or not, I think to me as a viewer, it was a bad decision to do that then, because to me it didn't make for a very interesting character to have her just like all confused throughout the movie. And I mean, you can be confused and still have personality. Uh, what can I say? Uh, didn't do it for old Comic Head. What else did I write on this stupid thing? This video sucks. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not doing a very good job um, of reviewing this movie. Um, let's see. I'm realizing in my notes that I wrote a lot of negative things. Uh, on my notes. Another negative thing I wrote was there was no bond shown really between her and Marvel. They gender swapped Marvel to be a woman. Whatever, that's fine. And she's like the person that she sees. Uh, what's the name of it? The Supreme Intelligence back in the Kree planet, which I thought was interesting, was when you need to talk to the Supreme Intelligence that gives out all the orders. You go into this little portal thing, and you never. The Supreme Intelligence always takes the form of, I guess, a special person from your past or in your life in general, and that's how you talk to the Supreme Intelligence. But and her person who gets culminated in that moment is Marvel, and I feel like they don't. Biggie Shack. I feel like they don't build a very strong relationship with between those two characters. Um I didn't see much for that. I mean, I guess they work together in the Air Force. They only have a couple quick exchanges throughout the film. I mean, I guess their only tie is that, she was a scientist working on something to save the Skrulls, and, you know, the plane crashes. She finds out she's a Skrull. I mean, she finds out she's a Kree because she's bleeding blue. Krees bleed blue. The explosion happens. Captain Carol Danvers gets her powers. So they have a tie in that sense, but I would have liked to see more relationship building with her and Marvel. Personally, I think that would have helped the film out. Um, one is another negative. I'm gonna try to summarize with as many positive points as I can because I don't think it was a total trash movie, but it wasn't particularly good. Um, no adversity. Now, you know the deal. On a hero movie, you need to put your character in danger. You need to make the stakes high for what the hero has to fight for, you know? And she deals with basically no adversity throughout the movie. She's OP. She's like she's easily handling any like scroll. Like in the beginning, she's hunting down scrolls. For example, the scene where she punches that old lady on the bus, right? What up, D-Runk? Welcome, brother. I'm just talking about Captain Marvel, and I'm trying not to be. I'm trying not to entirely shit on it, but it's kind of what's ended up happening. Um, right now, I'm just talking about the lack of adversity in the film. Where's my drink? Here it is. Now, there's there's a scene where she's going through where she punches the old lady on the bus. She's looking for shapeshifters. And she whoops all those shapeshifters' asses easily, right? Because she's got these blasts. She can shoot these super blasts out of her hands, and no one else really can. So she's just macking fools with those blasts throughout the whole movie. Now, did you see it, D-Runk? Now, the and correct me if I'm wrong, someone in the chat. The only moment, her big moment that she has to overcome adversity or a challenge is she gets captured by the Skrulls and they tie her up, right? They tie her up at the end. Not the Skrulls, I'm sorry, the Kree. Because, plot twist, the Kree are actually kind of the bad guys, and the Skrulls are, in fact, the good guys. They're kind of being persecuted by the Kree. I thought that was cool because I don't think it's like that in comics necessarily, but I thought that was interesting. She's working for the enemy. She was kind of brainwashed by the enemy, and Jude Law ends up basically being the big bad towards the end of the movie. Now, the one moment that I guess is the biggest moment of adversity is she helps reunite the Skrulls with their families, all good. Jude Law rolls up, uh, Jude Law rolls up and captures her. They tie her up with some ropes and they take the chip out of her neck because they're telling her that it's been established that she only has these powers. She's only able to control the powers because the Kree have a chip in her neck. So they take the chip out and they're like, haha, you're powerless now. And she's tied up. And there's like a little montage, basically like a Eye of the Tiger type of montage where she thinks back about, no, I really do have willpower and stuff. And she hulks up on him and she blasts out of the ropes. And then she just beats everybody up. Like she just beats everybody up easily. And she's quipping the whole time too. She's like being a smart aleck as she's doing it. So it's like no sweat. And then the final battle between the final confrontation between her and Jude Law is literally they almost make a gag out of it when he's like, "Come on, let's do this finally once and for all." And she just like pew, blasts him and he falls and she's like, "Nah, bro." So that was an issue. Like she never really the chips were never really stacked against her unless you know there's another moment that you can point out. Um, the you know Nick Fury's the highlight of the movie. Jude Law has an interesting heel turn throughout the movie, which was a plus. I like that part of the script. I think she looks cool when she's like flying around because I guess she gets the ability to fly later in the movie somehow. I guess once they take the chip out of her neck, I guess they're trying to say like that was like regulating her powers or something. But I noticed she can't fly through most of the movie, and then later on she's flying all around. I think once they take the chip out of her neck. So anyway, the scenes when she's flying around with the helmet, she looks cool. The Skrulls performance is fun. 90s action soundtrack was cool. But yeah, man, overall, Comic Head basically gives it a thumbs down. It's worth seeing though. I don't think it should be totally skipped. It doesn't have like the big man-hating agenda that I was hearing a lot about before. Because was hearing a bunch about that of like, oh man, they just like it's total girl power agenda movie, and they just like shitting on men the whole time. I didn't find that to be the case. I mean, there's like one scene that I noticed they deliberately did that when like there's a Skrulls take people captive, and they can scan the person, and it tells them like they scan the first alien, and they're like species, Skrull, threat level high, right? And then they go to Nick Fury, and it scans him, and it goes species human male, threat level low to none. And I feel like that was kind of I don't know. I feel like it was kind of intentional, I guess, but that wasn't crazy. Um, Carlito, Carlito says Iron Man 3 is a disgrace to the comics and the worst MCU movie. You can totally skip that as it's basically forgot about in the movies. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't I think for the sake of because I wanted to make a point to see it for the sake of Endgame, which I'm gonna watch soon, right? I think it's next week, Endgame. And I had the choice to watch Shazam or Captain Marvel. But I went with Captain Marvel because I wanted to see it before Endgame, and I just make a point to watch all the MCU movies. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, nothing really revolutionary happens, but if Captain Marvel's gonna be in Endgame, yeah, you want to know what's up with her. You'll want to watch the movie, you know. So I think it's real. I don't know if Skrulls are gonna pop up in Endgame. I don't know what's gonna pop up in Endgame. That's the crazy part. For a 3-hour movie, they've only released like a couple minutes of teaser trailer, and it's all the same shit. It's all just the Avengers, you know, dealing with the loss of everybody, and then them suiting up in those new white suits and like marching out to battle. That's what all the shit is. Um, so like, I'm so curious of what's gonna go down in Endgame. There's a lot that they're not showing us. Um, oh, I'm surprised to hear you say that, Big Shaq. Ant-Man 2 was pretty bad. I'm a fan of the Ant-Man movies. I think those are cool. I thought two was fun. The villain, a lot of Marvel movies have a villain problem. You know, the villains are not a highlight of a lot of Marvel movies. That's what makes Thanos so good. He is like the best, by far, the best villain that MCU has put to the table. And anyway, that Ghost character wasn't a particularly great villain for me in Ant-Man 2, but she was interesting enough and stuff like that. And I thought it's a fun movie. That movie is legitimately funny, I thought. So it's enjoyable. Now, here's a question. Thanos, I never heard anyone pose this question. So let me know what you guys think. Who's the best villain in comics, book movies between these two? Heath Ledger's Joker or Thanos? Josh Brolin Thanos. Because I feel like the best villain that DC has ever done in film is Heath Ledger's Joker. And the best villain that Marvel's ever put to the table is Thanos. Who do you think is the better villain on film? Joker, Thanos. That's a tough one. Because those are the two best villains I've ever seen portrayed is those two guys. I think Magneto has the potential to be that in future movies. Doctor Doom has the potential to be if they handle it right. But thus far, Magneto is not what he could have been in the old movies. Sir Ian McKellen is a good actor, but he just came off mad old and frail in the films, and I would like to see a little bit more vibrant of a badass Magneto. So he did okay, but not super memorable like those two. Carlito says he can't and won't attempt to answer that. I know it's a tough one, right? That's a really tough question. I don't. Biggie Shack, what do you think? Have you seen Infinity War yet, or what? Thanos or the Joker in Dark Knight Returns? Who was the better portrayal? Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Joker could not be an Avengers villain, no doubt. But as far as serving the film, and being a challenge for the hero, who did a better job? Hey, what's up, Gray Man? I just posed the question to the chat, which was, I don't know if you've seen Infinity War yet, but I was saying on film, the two best villains that I've ever seen portrayed by DC and Marvel. DC is Heath Ledger's Joker, Marvel, Thanos by Josh Brolin. And I was just proposing, who do you think is, who do you think's the best villain portrayed on film between those two? Yeah, I think Thanos. Yeah, Thanos is man, what a well done villain. Like fleshed out. He's not just on some I want to take over the world shit. He's a fleshed out character. All right, guys. I don't think that my review went very well. I think there's a good chance I'm probably gonna delete this. 'Cause I feel like I rambled a bit. And I don't know. I think this is a shitty video. But I'm glad for it in the moment in this live chat. I'm having fun. I'm glad the homie stopped by. But I don't think it's gonna stand up as a very well Captain Marvel review. I don't know if it made sense. I'm in the middle of reading, brushing up on my Y the Last Man. What was up with the review? No, nothing. I mean, I was just reviewing Captain Marvel. I think overall it was okay. It's worth watching, but it's not very good. And I think the Brie Larson Captain Marvel character uh, was one of the bigger flaws of it. I think they could have did a little better with that. Chad's reading it. Why the Last Man? If I was to score it, I'd give it like it's like a C, right? Let me see. Yeah, it's like a C. Why the Last Man is good. Why the Last Man is good. I'm like, I don't know how far. Hey Chad, how far do you think you're gonna get through this thing before tomorrow? I don't know how much we're covering, but I'm gonna try to get through the first trade by tomorrow. But yeah, man, it's good stuff. You know, it's not a superhero book. You know, it's like indie style. But man, great. If they end up making a show of that, of Why the Last Man, it's gonna be mucho bueno. I don't think. Yeah, I don't really delete videos like that. Yeah, I think we're on the same. I think I just finished issue 4, Chad. Right. Even Tony Sanders liked Shazam better. Yeah, that's the thing about Tony, man, is he keeps it real. He's a not only he's a Captain Marvel fan, but a classic Captain Marvel fan. You know, Marvel was his guy, and he calls it like he sees it, man. I respect that. He doesn't just fanboy out for his character. There was a recent Captain Marvel, the relaunch of Captain Marvel that they're doing now. They dropped the #1 a couple months ago. He's like, no, no good. Um, so you know, they're not doing as good a job as they could for. I'm not sure why that is. The Because I know Marvel doesn't really have their version of Wonder Woman, you know, and I guess the only option that they feel they have is Captain Marvel, and it's kind of disappointing that they're not able to nail it, you know. Anyway, guys, I need to log off this thing. I don't know. This was just a random jump on the live stream, but it's Game of Thrones tonight, y'all. T minus, what does it come on? 9 p.m. my time? 7, 8, 3 hours from now. Game of Thrones is back. I'm surprised I haven't seen anybody um, like Game of Thrones. No one in the community has set up like a Game of Thrones chat or live show or something yet. I wonder if someone's gonna review Game of Thrones once the show starts up again. I don't. It shouldn't be me because I'm not. Um, I feel like I'm rusty on it, and I think there are bigger Game of Thrones fans that would do a better job of reviewing everything and stuff. But I want to watch one. I'd like to see. I know there's tons of Game of Thrones fan um, review shows out there, but I would like to see some community homies make a Game of Thrones recap show or review show. So I'm surprised no one's announced it yet. Hey, Pop Dot Comics, what's up, buddy? How was that UFC last night? Oh my god, dude. Stylebender. I'm so glad Pop Dot's here so I can talk a little UFC. Stylebender versus Gastelum. Whoa, that thing was a battle. That was a great match. And unfortunately, my boy, Blessed Era Holloway, wasn't able to take it. But I do like Poirier. Poirier's my guy. Yeah, but they were so good, man. They were so good. And you know what? I actually gave you a shout out earlier in this video when I was talking about the Captain Marvel movie. Uh, not to, put you on blast there, but I thought you made a good point. The It seemed that the love interest in the Captain Marvel film was kind of Maria Rambeau, you know? And I thought they should have went all the way with it too. Um, I feel like I wasn't saying it as eloquently as you were, and I told people when I was trying to explain it, I felt like I was sounding dumb. Um, so I was just like, you know what? Watch Pop Dot's review of it because she's like more eloquent about it, and she like makes a really good case for it. So I had seen you say that before because I just watched it last night, and I could totally see that. I could totally see that, and I think they probably should have did it because, dude, where was where was Rambo's the father at? You know, that I found that to be very strange. Of like they didn't even address with one line of like, yeah, her dad walked out on us or he's dead or something. Unless I missed it. I'm like, what's up with this Maria Rambeau? She has this little kid, Monica, but like I'm assuming it takes two to tango to make this kid, and they just never address it. Uh, Strange, you know. It's like I don't know, and I think because if they did mention a father or a husband that walked out or something, then that would have definitely, you know, addressed her not being, gay or what have you. So I think that's interesting that they did not even mention a husband or father. Almost like, I don't know. I don't know. A woman bromance. Yeah, I mean I think that's how they wanted to portray it as a womance or something. But you know, something was going on there, if you ask me, and they should have just went for it. So that's all. Like I said, this was an impromptu live video. Um, I feel like I might delete it because I don't know. If someone's looking for a good Captain Marvel review and they find my shit, and they're like, look at this bumbling fool trying to review this movie. I think it's not going to be a good look. Yeah. Biggie Shack. Yeah. So overall, I wouldn't skip it, especially if you're an MCU fan. I wouldn't skip Captain Marvel, but just when you go into it, you know, judge for yourself. I wouldn't expect too much from it. Am I coming to Florida for MegaCon? I'm not. I've never really traveled for like cons before. I think the first time I might do it is this October in Baltimore. I think I'm going to go to that one because one of my buddies is down to go. He says he's down to we'll grab a couple plane tickets and we'll do a weekend, whatever, during that Baltimore con. So if I got a co-pilot, I'm down to do it. I just, I'm sure once I got there, like I just don't want to go solo. Like that would be weird for me to just solo hop on a plane and go to a con. I'm sure I would link up with homies once I was there, but you know. So I got a co-pilot. I think I'm gonna make it happen. So if any of you guys are going to Baltimore, let me know. Yeah, White Whale's going. My Massachusetts homie. See you, Chad. Talk to you later. I would expect, um, I would expect to keep your eye out for Chad and I to go through some stuff before the Game of Thrones episode starts. Because once Game of Thrones on, I'm in there like swimwear. But I picked up some comics today. I did a little hunting, and I'm going to show them off once I link up with Chad. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Peace out. I appreciate you guys coming in. Uh, Perry with the 4D chess moves. I feel you, brother. I feel you. And I appreciate you guys hanging out. Good stuff. See you guys soon. Peace.